I spent 45 years believing I was living the greatest love story ever told. My husband Bobby was my high school sweetheart, my first kiss, my only love. We were the couple everyone envied, the ones who made it. But on a sunny Tuesday afternoon, while sorting through old photographs for our anniversary party, I found a bank statement that would shatter every beautiful lie I'd been living. My husband had fathered a child with my own aunt, and for 10 years, he paid her to keep me in the dark. Real-life inspired emotional stories from USA, Canada, UAE, and Europe, filled with truth, betrayal, love, and redemption. Each story touches the soul and reveals what really happens behind closed doors. Before I begin my story, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is. I just want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you feel moved by what you hear, consider subscribing to Grandma True Stories. It helps more people become aware of the reality of family secrets and betrayal. Now let me tell you what really happened. My name is Margaret Reynolds, but everyone calls me Maggie. I'm 68 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I knew exactly who I was. I was Bobby Reynolds' wife. That's how I introduced myself at church socials, at the grocery store, at every family gathering. I'm Bobby's wife. As if that explained everything about me. And in a way, it did. Bobby and I met when I was 15 years old, in the hallways of Lincoln High School in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. He was a junior, I was a sophomore, and he had the most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. He asked me to the homecoming dance, and I swear my heart nearly exploded right there by my locker. We dated through high school, got engaged the day after my graduation, and married that same summer. I was 19 years old, wearing my mother's wedding dress, promising to love Robert James Reynolds until death did us part. And I meant every word. We built a good life together. Bobby worked at the hardware store his father owned, eventually taking it over. I became a school librarian, surrounding myself with books and children's laughter. We had 3 beautiful children, Claire, Michael, and David. We bought a house with a white picket fence. We never missed Sunday service. We were the picture, perfect American family. Everyone said we were lucky. High school sweethearts who actually made it, they'd say with wonder in their voices. You two are proof that true love exists. I believed them. I believed every word. Our 45th wedding anniversary was coming up in 2 weeks. Claire, our eldest daughter, had taken charge of planning a big celebration. She wanted to do something special, a slideshow of our life together, displayed at a party with all our family and friends. Mom, it'll be beautiful, Claire said when she first suggested it. She's 42 now, married with 2 kids of her own, and she's always been sentimental. 45 years, Mom. That's incredible. Nobody stays together that long anymore. So there I was, on that Tuesday afternoon in early September, sitting in our guest bedroom that had become a sort of storage room over the years. Claire had asked me to go through our old photo albums and boxes of pictures, to select the best ones for scanning. The room smelled like dust and memories. Sunlight streamed through the lace curtains, making patterns on the hardwood floor. I had 6 albums spread out around me, along with 3 shoeboxes full of loose photographs. There we were at our wedding, so young and full of hope. There was Bobby holding baby Claire, his face radiant with pride. Our first house, family vacations to the Ozarks, Christmas mornings, birthday parties, a lifetime captured in fading photographs. I was smiling as I worked, tears pricking my eyes at the sweetness of it all. How blessed I'd been, how very blessed. I picked up the oldest album, the one with our wedding photos. The binding was falling apart, and as I lifted it, something slipped out from between the back pages and fluttered to the floor. It was a piece of paper, folded in half. I bent down to retrieve it, thinking it might be an old card or letter. Maybe something romantic Bobby had written me all those years ago. I unfolded it. It wasn't a love letter. It was a bank statement from First National Bank, dated from 10 years ago. March 2015. The account was in Bobby's name, a checking account I didn't recognize. My hands started to shake before my brain fully processed what I was seeing. There, in the transaction column, was a check written to Linda Patterson, my Aunt Linda, $2,000. The memo line read, "Support as agreed." I stared at it, my vision blurred and refocused. Why would Bobby be writing checks to my Aunt Linda? And why had I never known about this account? Linda was my mother's youngest sister, born when my grandmother was 43. She was only 5 years older than me, more like a cousin than an aunt. We'd always been close. She'd struggled financially for years, especially after her divorce when Sarah was just a baby. Sarah, my cousin Sarah, she was 28 now, working as a dental hygienist in Des Moines. Maybe Bobby had been helping Linda out, he was generous like that. But why hide it? Why a secret bank account? My heart was pounding now, a sick feeling spreading through my chest. With trembling fingers, I looked at the statement more carefully. There were other transactions. Another check to Linda Patterson, dated 6 weeks earlier. Same amount, same memo, support as agreed. I flipped the page over, but there was nothing else. Just that one statement. Somehow tucked into our wedding album and forgotten. I sat there on the floor of that dusty room, holding that piece of paper, and felt the first crack appear in the foundation of my perfect life. A's agreed. What agreement? For how long? And why? I looked at the date again, March 2015, 10 years ago. Suddenly I needed to know more, I needed to know everything. I stood up, my knees protesting, and walked downstairs. Bobby was in his recliner in the living room, watching some program about vintage cars. He did that most afternoons now. We were both retired, settled into a comfortable routine. Or so I thought. Bobby, I said, and my voice sounded strange even to my own ears. He looked up, smiling. That same smile that had made me fall in love at 15. Hey, sweetheart. How's the photo sorting going? I walked over to him and held out the bank statement. Can you explain this? He took it from my hand, and I watched his face carefully. I saw the exact moment he recognized what it was. His expression didn't just change, it collapsed. All the color drained from his face. His hand holding the paper began to tremble. Maggie, he said, and his voice was hoarse. Where did you find this? In our wedding album. Bobby, why were you sending money to Linda? What agreement? He didn't answer. He just sat there, staring at that paper like it was a death sentence. Bobby, my voice was sharper now. Answer me. What is this about? He looked up at me then, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. It wasn't just guilt, it was fear. Deep, terrible fear. We need to talk, he finally said, those 4 words, the 4 words nobody ever wants to hear. My legs felt weak. I sat down on the couch across from him, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I'm listening, I said. Bobby set the bank statement down on the side table. He rubbed his face with both hands. When he looked at me again, there were tears in his eyes. Maggie, I need you to know that I love you. I have always loved you. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Bobby, you're scaring me. Just tell me what this is about. He took a deep breath. Then another. Then he said the words that would destroy everything. Sarah is my daughter. The room went silent. Absolutely silent. I could hear the clock ticking on the mantel. I could hear a car passing outside. I could hear my own breathing. What? I whispered. Sarah. Linda's daughter. She's mine, Maggie. I'm her father. I couldn't process it. The words didn't make sense. Sarah was Linda's daughter. Linda's daughter from her brief marriage to that man. What was his name? I couldn't even remember. He'd left when Sarah was a baby. No, I said. No, Sarah's father was Linda's ex-husband. That's not possible. Bobby was crying now, tears running down his weathered face. There was no husband, Maggie. Linda made that up. It was me, it was always me. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the couch to steady myself. 28 years ago, Bobby continued, his voice breaking. Do you remember? We were going through that rough patch, you'd had the miscarriage, and we were fighting all the time, and I was drinking too much. I remembered. Of course I remembered. It had been the darkest period of our marriage. I'd miscarried at 5 months. A little girl we were going to name Emma. The grief had nearly destroyed us both. Linda was there for me, Bobby said. She came by the store one day, and I was upset, and she listened. We started talking more, and then one night, stop, I said. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Stop talking. But he didn't stop. Now that he'd started, the words kept coming, like poison pouring out of a wound. It happened once, Maggie. Just once. I swear to God, just once. And then Linda called me 6 weeks later and said she was pregnant. She said she'd keep the secret if I paid her $2,000 a month for 10 years. That was the agreement. I stood up. I didn't know what else to do. I just stood up and walked to the window and stared out at our perfectly manicured lawn. Sarah was Bobby's daughter. My Aunt Linda had blackmailed my husband. For 10 years, while I smiled at family gatherings and hugged Sarah and celebrated her graduations and birthdays, my husband had been paying my aunt to keep quiet about the fact that he was her father. The payments stopped 2 years ago, Bobby said quietly behind me. Linda got remarried and she told me we were done, that she didn't need the money anymore. I thought it was over. I thought you'd never have to know. I turned around slowly. I looked at this man I'd loved for 53 years. This man I'd given my whole life to. You thought I'd never have to know, I repeated. You thought you could just keep this secret forever? Maggie? Get out of this room. Right now? I can't look at you. Bobby stood up, reaching for me. Maggie, please. Let's talk about this. G.T.O. I screamed, and it was the first time in 45 years of marriage that I'd ever screamed at him. He left. I heard his footsteps on the stairs. Heard the door to our bedroom close. I stood there in the living room, surrounded by 45 years of memories, and realized I didn't know my own life. I didn't know my own husband. I didn't know anything at all. And the anniversary party was in 2 weeks. I didn't go upstairs that night. I couldn't bear the thought of lying next to Bobby in the bed we'd shared for 45 years. Instead, I sat in the living room as the sun set and darkness filled the house, staring at that bank statement until the words blurred together. Support as agreed. $2,000 a month for 10 years. I did the math in my head, even though I didn't want to. $240,000. $250,000 paid to my aunt to keep quiet about fathering her child. Our child. Because Sarah was family. She'd always been family. She'd sat at our Thanksgiving table. She'd opened Christmas presents under our tree. She'd called Bobby, Uncle Bobby, her entire life, Uncle Bobby. The thought made me physically ill. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. When I came back to the living room, I found Bobby standing at the bottom of the stairs in his pajamas. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in the past few hours. Maggie, he said softly. Please, come to bed. We need to talk about this? There's nothing to talk about, I said, my voice flat. You had an affair with my aunt. You got her pregnant. You paid her to keep quiet for 10 years. What else is there to say? I can explain. Explain what, Bobby? Explain how you betrayed me with my own family. Explain how you looked me in the eye every single day for 28 years and lied. Explain how you let me love Sarah, let me be in her life, knowing she was your daughter. He was crying again. I'm so sorry, Maggie. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, I said. Sorry doesn't give me back the truth. Sorry doesn't make any of this okay. What are you going to do? He asked. And I heard fear in his voice. That's when I realized he wasn't just afraid of losing me. He was afraid I would tell everyone. He was afraid the truth would come out. I don't know, I said honestly. But right now, I want you to leave me alone. He nodded slowly and went back upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close, and then there was silence. I sat in that living room all night long. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. My mind was racing, going over every memory, re-examining everything through this new, horrible lens. 28 years ago, I remembered Linda announcing she was pregnant. She'd been so happy, despite being unmarried. She said the father was a man she'd been dating, but that it hadn't worked out. She said he wanted nothing to do with the baby. We'd all rallied around her. My mother, my sister, me. We threw her a baby shower. We helped her set up the nursery. When Sarah was born, I was one of the first people to hold her. She'd been such a beautiful baby. With dark hair and blue eyes. Blue eyes like Bobby's. How had I never noticed? How had I been so blind? I thought about all the times Bobby had been particularly generous with Linda. Helping her move into a new apartment. Fixing her car. Those checks at Christmas that were always a little more than what we gave to other family members. Linda's had it rough, he'd always said. We should help out where we can, and I'd agreed. Because that's who we were, we helped family. I started laughing then, sitting alone in the dark. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the kind of laugh that comes when something is so absurd, so unbelievably twisted, that your brain can't process it any other way. Around 3 a.m, I got up and made coffee. My hands were steadier now, but inside I felt like I was falling apart. I thought about Claire and the anniversary party. All those photos we'd been sorting through. All those memories we were going to celebrate. What a joke. What a complete and utter joke. I thought about calling Claire right then, waking her up, telling her everything. But what would I say? Honey, I know we're planning this beautiful anniversary party, but it turns out your father had an affair with my aunt, and Sarah is actually your half-sister. God. Sarah was my children's half-sister. They'd grown up together as cousins, but they were actually siblings. The lies just kept getting deeper and deeper. As dawn broke, I made a decision. I needed to know everything. Not just what Bobby told me. I needed the whole truth. And there was only one other person who could give me that. I needed to talk to Linda. At 7 o'clock, I heard Bobby come downstairs. He stopped in the doorway of the living room, looking uncertain. Did you sleep at all? He asked. No, Maggie, please. Let me explain everything. Let me tell you how it happened. I don't want to hear it from you, I interrupted. I'm going to talk to Linda. His face went white. Maggie, no, please don't do that, not yet. Let's figure this out together first. Figure it out together. I stood up, facing him. Bobby, there is no together anymore. You destroyed that when you slept with my aunt. You destroyed it even more when you lied to me for 28 years. You don't get to decide how this goes now. If you talk to Linda, everyone will find out, he said desperately. The kids, the grandkids, everyone at church, our whole life will fall apart. I walked up to him and looked him straight in the eye. Our whole life is already a lie. Maybe it's time for the truth. I went upstairs, took a shower, and got dressed. Bobby didn't try to stop me. He just sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands while I gathered my purse and car keys. Maggie, he said as I headed for the door. I love you. I've always loved you. That was real. That was never a lie. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. Without turning around, I said, if you really loved me, you would have told me the truth 28 years ago. Then I walked out. Linda lived about 20 minutes away in a small ranch house she'd bought after remarrying 5 years ago. Her husband, Frank, was a nice man, a retired postal worker who treated Linda well. They seemed happy. I wondered if Frank knew. I wondered how many people had been in on this secret while I remained completely in the dark. I pulled into Linda's driveway at 8:30. Her car was there, which meant she was home. I sat in my car for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, trying to prepare myself for this conversation. Then I got out and walked to the front door. I rang the bell. Linda answered after a moment, wearing a bathrobe and slippers. Her face lit up when she saw me.
Maggie, what a nice surprise! Come in, come in.
I was just making breakfast. Want some coffee? She was acting completely normal, as if nothing was wrong, as if she hadn't destroyed my life. I stepped inside. The house smelled like bacon and coffee. I could hear the television on in the living room, the morning news. Linda, I said, and my voice was cold. We need to talk. She must have heard something in my tone because her smile faded. What's wrong? Is everything okay? I reached into my purse and pulled out the bank statement. I held it up so she could see it. I found this yesterday. Bobby told me everything. Well, he told me some of it. Now I want to hear your side. Linda's face changed instantly. All the color drained away. She reached out and steadied herself against the wall. Maggie, she whispered. I can explain, then explain. Explain how you slept with my husband. Explain how you blackmailed him for 10 years. Explain how you let me love Sarah as my niece when she was actually my husband's daughter. Linda's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't like that. It wasn't blackmail. I needed help. You needed help? I felt rage building inside me, hot and terrible. So you seduced my husband and then extorted money from him. That was your solution? I didn't seduce him? Linda's voice rose. It just happened, Maggie. We were both drunk and upset, and it just happened. Don't you dare make excuses, I said. It didn't just happen. You made a choice. You chose to betray me. Linda was sobbing now. I'm sorry. God, Maggie, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. But you did hurt me. You've been hurting me for 28 years. Every time you brought Sarah to our house. Every time I bought her birthday presents or helped with her school projects. Every time I looked at her and thought she was just my niece. She is your niece, Linda said weakly. No, she's Bobby's daughter. She's my husband's child with another woman. With my own aunt. I shook my head. How could you do this to me? How could you look me in the eye, year after year, and pretend everything was fine? Linda sank down onto the couch, her face in her hands. I thought I was protecting you. I thought if you never knew, you could stay happy. That wasn't your choice to make, I shouted. You don't get to decide what truths I can handle. You don't get to lie to me for my own good. We stood there in her living room, the morning news still playing on the television, and I saw my aunt clearly for the first time, not as family, not as someone I loved, but as someone who had betrayed me in the worst possible way. Does Sarah know? I asked quietly. Linda shook her head. No. She thinks her father was someone I dated briefly before she was born. Someone who left before she was born? So she doesn't know Bobby is her father? No. And Frank? I gestured around the house. Does your husband know? Linda hesitated, then nodded. Yes. I told him before we got married. I had to. But he promised to keep the secret. Another person who knew. Another person who looked at me with pity, knowing something I didn't. The anniversary party is in 2 weeks, I said. Claire has been planning this big celebration, a slideshow of our life together. Our perfect 45-year marriage. Linda looked up at me with red. swollen eyes. What are you going to do? That was the question, wasn't it? What was I going to do? I could keep the secret, cancel the party quietly, maybe claim illness, file for divorce without ever telling anyone why, let Bobby and Linda keep their lies. Or I could tell the truth, blow up everything, hurt everyone, my children, my grandchildren, Sarah most of all. I looked at Linda and felt something inside me harden. I don't know yet, I said. But whatever I decide, it won't be to protect you or Bobby. You two gave up that right when you decided to lie to me for nearly 3 decades. I turned and walked to the door. Maggie, wait. Linda called out. Please, can we talk about this? Can we figure something out? I paused with my hand on the doorknob, just like I had with Bobby. There's nothing to figure out, Linda. The damage is done. Now I just have to decide what to do with the truth. I left her there, crying in her living room, and drove home. When I got back, Bobby was still at the kitchen table. He looked up hopefully when I walked in. How did it go? I didn't answer. I walked past him, went upstairs, and locked myself in our bedroom. Then I sat on the bed and finally let myself cry. I spent the next 2 days in a fog. I moved through the house like a ghost, avoiding Bobby as much as possible. He tried to talk to me several times, but I couldn't bear to hear his voice. Every time he spoke, all I could hear were lies. Claire called on Thursday afternoon, excited about the anniversary party plans.
Mom, I've scanned about 50 photos already!
Wait until you see the slideshow. It's going to be beautiful. Dad's going to cry for sure. I held the phone away from my ear, staring at it like it was something foreign. My daughter's happy voice, talking about celebrating a marriage that was built on betrayal. Mom, are you there? Yes, honey, I'm here. Are you okay? You sound strange? I'm fine, just a little tired. Well, make sure you rest up. Only 12 days until the party. We've got 73 people confirmed so far. Aunt Linda and Sarah are coming, of course. Of course they were. Claire, honey, I need to go. I'll call you later. I hung up before she could ask any more questions. That evening, after Bobby went to bed, he'd been sleeping in the guest room since our confrontation. I found myself drawn back to that room where I'd been sorting photos. The bank statement was still there, lying on top of the wedding album like an accusation. One statement. That's all I had. One piece of paper showing 2 transactions from 10 years ago. But Bobby had said the payments went on for 10 years. $2,000 a month for a decade. There had to be more evidence. There had to be records. I stood up. My mind suddenly clear and focused for the first time in days. If Bobby had been hiding money from me all these years, there would be a trail. There would be proof. I went downstairs to Bobby's home office, a small room off the kitchen where he kept his desk and filing cabinets. He'd always handled our finances. I'd trusted him completely. What a fool I'd been. The door wasn't locked. Why would it be? I was his wife, his partner, his victim. I turned on the desk lamp and started searching. The filing cabinet had 4 drawers, all neatly organized with labeled folders. Tax returns, insurance policies, utility bills. Bobby had always been meticulous about record keeping. I opened the bottom drawer and found older files, things from years past. And there in the very back was a folder labeled simply, Private. My hands were shaking as I pulled it out. Inside were bank statements, dozens of them. From an account at First National Bank that I'd never known existed. The account had been opened 28 years ago, just months after Sarah was born. I spread the statements out on the desk, my heart pounding. There it was. The entire ugly truth laid out in black and white. Monthly deposits into the account. Money siphoned from our business, from Bobby's paycheck, from places I'd never noticed. And monthly checks written to Linda Patterson. $2,000 every single month, for exactly 10 years. The payments started in November, 3 months after Sarah was born. They ended in November, 10 years later, just like Bobby had said. But that wasn't all. There were other papers in the folder. A legal document, handwritten and notarized. An agreement between Robert Reynolds and Linda Patterson, dated October 28th, the year Sarah was born. I read it carefully, my stomach churning with every word. Linda acknowledged that Bobby was Sarah's biological father. Bobby agreed to provide financial support of $2,000 monthly for 10 years, totaling $240,000. In exchange, Linda agreed to never publicly acknowledge Bobby's paternity, to never contact Bobby's family with the truth, and to never pursue additional child support through legal channels. It was all there, a contract, a deal to keep me in the dark. And at the bottom, both of their signatures. I sat at that desk for hours, going through every piece of paper in that folder. There were birthday cards that Linda had sent to Bobby over the years, thanking him for his continued support. There were photos of Sarah at various ages. Photos Bobby had kept hidden from me. School pictures, dance recitals, her high school graduation. He'd had a whole secret relationship with his daughter. While I thought he was running errands or working late, he'd been watching her grow up from a distance. There was even a letter from Sarah herself, written when she was 16. She must have discovered the truth somehow, at least partially. Uncle Bobby. It read, "Mom told me you've been helping us out financially for years. I just wanted to say thank you. I know things have been hard for Mom, and having your support has meant everything. You're such a good man. I'm so lucky to have you as my uncle. I'm so lucky to have you as my uncle." She didn't know. Linda had told her some version of the truth, that Bobby was helping financially, but Sarah still believed he was just her generous uncle. She had no idea he was her father. I felt sick. I felt betrayed, but most of all I felt angry. Angry at Bobby for his weakness and his lies. Angry at Linda for her manipulation and greed. But also angry at myself for being so trusting, so blind, so completely oblivious. I gathered all the papers, put them back in the folder, and took it with me. This was my evidence, my proof. And I was going to need it. The next morning, Friday, I called Claire. "Honey, I need to talk to you about something. Can you come over?" "Is everything okay, Mom? You've been acting strange all week. Just come over. Please. It's important." She arrived an hour later, worried lines creasing her forehead. "Mom, what's going on? You're scaring me. Is it Dad? Is he sick?" "Your father's fine. Physically. Anyway." I gestured to the kitchen table. "Sit down, Claire. We need to talk." She sat, and I sat across from her. The folder was between us on the table. "Mom, you're really freaking me out right now." I took a deep breath. "I'm going to tell you something that's going to change everything. And I need you to let me get through it all before you say anything. Can you do that?" Claire nodded slowly, her eyes wide, so I told her everything. The bank statement I'd found, Bobby's confession, my confrontation with Linda, the folder of evidence I'd discovered. All of it. I watched my daughter's face as I spoke. Watched the confusion, then the disbelief, then the dawning horror as she realized what I was telling her. When I finished, there was silence. Claire just stared at me, her mouth slightly open, tears streaming down her face. "Sarah," she finally whispered. She's our sister? Half-sister, yes. Oh, we grew up with her. We played together. We were cousins." Claire's voice was rising. "How could Dad do this? How could Aunt Linda?" "I don't know, honey. I honestly don't know." Claire stood up abruptly, knocking her chair back. "Does Michael know? Does David?" "No, you're the first person I've told. Besides confronting your father and Linda, of course. We have to tell them. They have a right to know. I know. But Claire, there's something else. The anniversary party." She looked at me blankly for a moment, then her face crumpled. "Oh God, the party. Mom? I've been planning this whole celebration of your marriage, and all this time." "It's not your fault," I said quickly. "You didn't know. None of us knew. What are you going to do? We can't have the party now. We have to cancel it." I'd been thinking about this for 2 days. Lying awake at night, turning it over and over in my mind. "I'm not going to cancel it," I said quietly. Claire stared at me. "What?" "I'm not canceling the party. In fact, I'm going to use it." "Mom, I don't understand." I pulled the folder toward me, placing my hand flat on top of it. "Your father and Linda have kept this secret for 28 years. They've lied to me, to you kids, to Sarah, to everyone. They've made fools of all of us." "Okay, but..." "So I'm going to tell the truth. At the party, in front of everyone." Claire's eyes went wide. "Mom, no. You can't. That would be nuclear. It would destroy everything. Everything is already destroyed, Claire. I'm just going to make sure everyone knows it." "But Sarah?" Claire said desperately. "Think about Sarah. She doesn't know. This will devastate her, and the grandkids, and everyone at church. Mom, this will hurt so many people." "I know. And I did know. I'd thought about nothing else. But keeping the secret hurts me. And I'm done being the only one who's hurt. There has to be another way. We could tell the family privately. We could handle this quietly." I shook my head. Bobby and Linda had 28 years to handle this quietly. They chose lies. They chose manipulation. They chose to protect themselves at my expense. Now it's my turn to choose. Claire was crying openly now. "Mom, please, think about this. Once you tell everyone, you can't take it back. Your life will never be the same. My life is already not the same, Claire. The only difference is that now I know the truth, and I think everyone else deserves to know it too. What does Dad say about this?" "I haven't told him my plan. As far as he knows, I'm still deciding what to do. Claire wiped her eyes. He's going to try to stop you. Probably, and Aunt Linda. She'll definitely try to stop me. My daughter looked at me for a long moment. You're really going to do this, aren't you? You're really going to blow up our entire family at your anniversary party? Yes, I said simply. I am. Claire stood up and paced the kitchen, running her hands through her hair. Finally, she turned back to me. What do you need me to do? I felt a wave of love for my daughter. Even though I knew she thought this was a terrible idea, she was standing by me. I need you to keep planning the party like nothing's wrong. I need you to make sure everyone's there. Especially Linda and Sarah. And I need you to be ready for what comes after. What comes after is going to be chaos, Mom. I know. Everyone's going to take sides. The family will split apart. Some people will never forgive you for doing this so publicly. I know that too. Claire came over and took my hands. Mom, I love you, and I support you, but I'm begging you to reconsider. There has to be a better way. I squeezed her hands. The time for better ways was 28 years ago, when your father should have told me the truth. Now all I have left is this way. She pulled me into a hug, and we stood there in the kitchen, holding each other, both of us crying. 10 days, she whispered. That's all we have until the party. Then we better get ready, I said. After Claire left, I went back upstairs and took out the folder again. I looked through every document, every photo, every piece of evidence. Bobby had built this house of lies brick by brick. Now I was going to tear it down, just as methodically. I heard him come home from wherever he'd been. Heard his footsteps on the stairs, heard him pause outside the bedroom door. Maggie, he called softly. Can we talk? No, I said, please. We need to figure out what we're going to do. I opened the door and looked at him. He looked exhausted, defeated. Good, I know what I'm going to do, I said. You'll find out when everyone else does. His face went pale. Maggie, what does that mean? It means you should have told me the truth 28 years ago, Bobby. Because now the truth is going to come out on my terms, not yours. I closed the door in his face and locked it. 10 days until the anniversary party. 10 days until I destroyed everything. The next week was the strangest of my life. On the surface, everything looked normal. Claire continued planning the party, sending me updates about the catering and the venue. Bobby went about his daily routine, though he watched me constantly, trying to gauge what I was thinking. And I played the role I'd been playing for 45 years, Bobby's wife. The happy homemaker, the woman who had everything. But inside, I was preparing for war. I called Michael on Saturday morning. He lived in Chicago with his wife and 2 teenage boys. He was our middle child, practical and level-headed, a corporate lawyer who approached everything with logic. Hey, Mom, he answered cheerfully. How's the anniversary planning going, Michael? I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen without interrupting. The tone of my voice must have alarmed him. Okay, what's wrong? I told him everything, just like I'd told Claire. I heard his breathing change on the other end of the line, heard the sharp intake of breath, when I got to the part about Sarah being his half-sister. When I finished, there was a long silence. Michael, I'm here? His voice was tight, controlled. I'm just processing. I know it's a lot. Mom, this is insane. Dad actually with Aunt Linda? He let out a bitter laugh. God. And here I always thought we were the perfect family. The example everyone else should follow. I thought that too. What are you going to do? Are you divorcing him? Probably, eventually. But first, I'm going to tell everyone the truth. When? At the party? Another long silence. Then, Jesus, Mom, that's going to be a massacre. I know. Have you thought this through? Really thought it through? Sarah's going to be destroyed. She has no idea Bobby's her father. I've thought about nothing else for a week, Michael. And yes, Sarah's going to be hurt. But she deserves to know the truth. We all do. I heard him sigh deeply. I get it, I do. But Mom, there are other ways to handle this. Quieter ways. Your father and Linda had 28 years to handle this quietly. They chose lies instead. I know, but, Michael, I'm not calling to ask your permission. I'm calling to tell you what's going to happen. You can be there or not. That's your choice. Another pause. Of course I'll be there. You're my mother. But Mom, this is going to change everything. You know that, right? Everything already changed the moment I found that bank statement. I'm just making sure everyone else knows it too. After I hung up with Michael, I called David. He was our youngest, 27, still unmarried, working as a high school teacher in Des Moines. He'd always been the most sensitive of my children, the one who felt things deeply. His reaction was different from his siblings. When I told him about Bobby and Linda, about Sarah being his half-sister, he didn't sound angry. He sounded heartbroken. Poor Sarah, he whispered. She's going to feel like her whole life was a lie. It was a lie, David. All of our lives were. But she didn't ask for this. She didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I said quietly. And yet I'm the one who's been lied to for 28 years. I know, Mom. I'm not saying what Dad did was okay. It's terrible, it's unforgivable. But Sarah, she's innocent in all this. Which is why she deserves to know the truth. David was quiet for a moment. Are you really going to tell everyone at the party? Yes. That's going to traumatize her. Mom, in front of the whole family. At a party that's supposed to be a celebration. Where else should I do it, David? In private, so Bobby and Linda can control the narrative. So they can spin it their way, make excuses, minimize what they did. No, but this secret has been protected for too long. It's time for the light to shine on it, no matter how ugly it looks. I heard him take a shaky breath. Okay, Mom. If this is what you need to do, I'll support you. But I'm going to be there for Sarah afterward. She's going to need someone. That's good, I said, and I meant it. She will need someone. You're a good person, David. I learned from you, he said softly. After talking to my sons, I felt both better and worse. Better because they knew the truth now, because I wasn't carrying this burden alone. Worse because I could hear the pain in their voices, the disillusionment. Their father had fallen off the pedestal in a single conversation. Bobby tried to talk to me again that evening. Maggie, please. We need to discuss this. I know you talked to the kids. Claire called me, crying. Michael too, they're upset. Of course they're upset. Their father is a liar and a cheater? He flinched. I made a terrible mistake 28 years ago. But I've been a good husband since then. I've been faithful. I've loved you. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You've been faithful, Bobby? You've been lying to me every single day for nearly 3 decades. You looked me in the eye at every family gathering while your daughter called you uncle. You took my money, our money, and paid your mistress to keep quiet. That's not love. That's not faithfulness. That's betrayal over and over and over again. I was trying to protect you.
Stop saying that!
I shouted. You weren't protecting me. You were protecting yourself. You didn't want to face the consequences of what you'd done. You didn't want to lose your comfortable life, your reputation, your perfect family image. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I stepped closer to him, my voice shaking with rage. Is it fair that I gave you my whole life? That I trusted you completely? Is it fair that Linda got to blackmail you for $250,000 while I worked and saved and pinched pennies thinking we needed to be careful with money? Is it fair that Sarah grew up without knowing her real father while you played the generous uncle? Bobby's face was red, tears streaming down his cheeks. What can I do? Tell me what I can do to fix this. Nothing, I said flatly. There's nothing you can do. The damage is done. I'll go to counseling. We can work through this together. Other couples have survived infidelity. Other couples deal with their problems when they happen. You waited 28 years, Bobby. And you only told me because I found out. If I hadn't found that bank statement, you would have taken this secret to your grave. He couldn't deny it. We both knew it was true. The party is in a week, I said. I suggest you prepare yourself. His eyes widened. Maggie, what are you going to do? You'll see? Please, he begged. Whatever you're planning, please reconsider. Think about the kids. Think about the grandchildren. Think about Sarah. I am thinking about them. I'm thinking they deserve to know the truth. Not like this, not at the party. Maggie, I'm begging you. The time for begging was 28 years ago, I said. Now it's too late. I walked away, leaving him standing in the hallway, and I felt nothing. No sympathy, no guilt. No second thoughts. Just a cold, hard determination to see this through. On Tuesday, 4 days before the party, Linda called me. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. Maggie, she said, and her voice was shaking. Bobby called me. He said you're planning something. He said you're going to expose everything at the anniversary party. Bobby talks too much, I said coolly. Please, Maggie. Please don't do this. Think about Sarah. She doesn't know. She's going to be devastated. She has a right to know who her father is.
But not like this, not in front of everyone. Let me tell her first.
Let me prepare her. Please. So you can spin the story your way? So you can make yourself look better? No, Linda. You had 28 years to tell her the truth. You chose to lie. I was trying to protect her. Everyone keeps saying they were trying to protect someone. I interrupted. But the only person who wasn't protected was me. I was the one kept in the dark. I was the one lied to by the two people who should have been honest with me. I know I hurt you, Linda said, crying now. I know what I did was wrong. But Maggie, we're family. We've always been family. Doesn't that mean anything? Family, I repeated. You slept with my husband and blackmailed him for 10 years, and you want to talk to me about family? It wasn't blackmail. He offered to help. I've seen the contract, Linda. I've seen the notarized agreement. Don't lie to me anymore. You're not good at it. She was sobbing now. What can I do? How can I make this right? You can't? It's too late for that? Maggie, I'm begging you. Don't do this at the party. Call it off. People, you're sick. We can figure this out privately.
No! You're going to destroy everything! The family will never be the same!
Good, I said, because the family was built on lies. Maybe it's time for something real. I hung up on her. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about what was coming. In 4 days, I would stand up in front of 73 people, family, friends, neighbors, church members, and tell them that my 45-year marriage was a fraud. I would watch their faces change from celebration to shock to horror. I would see my children hurt, my grandchildren confused. I would watch Sarah's world fall apart. And I would do it anyway, because the alternative was to keep living the lie. To pretend everything was fine. To let Bobby and Linda off the hook. To protect them from the consequences of their choices. I'd spent my whole life making other people comfortable. Being the good wife, the good mother, the good sister, the good niece. Smoothing things over, keeping the peace. Swallowing my own feelings to keep everyone else happy. Not anymore. On Wednesday, Claire came over to finalize the party details. The slideshow's ready, she said quietly. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't been sleeping either. Do you want to see it? Nope. Mom, are you sure about this? Really, truly sure. Because once you do this, there's no going back. I'm sure. She bit her lip. I've been thinking, what if you're making a mistake? What if the truth hurts more people than it helps? The truth is the truth, Claire. It doesn't stop being true just because it's painful. But there are different ways to tell the truth. Different times. Different places. I looked at my daughter, at her worried face, and felt a pang of guilt, but not enough to change my mind. Your father made his choice 28 years ago, I said gently.
Linda made hers, now I'm making mine.
Claire nodded slowly. Okay. Then I'll be right there beside you when it happens. You don't have to be. I know this is hard for you. You're my mother, she said simply. Of course I have to be. Thursday came. Then Friday. The day before the party. Bobby moved around the house like a condemned man, pale and shaking. He'd stopped trying to talk me out of it. I think he finally understood that nothing he said would change my mind. Linda called 3 more times. I didn't answer. Michael arrived from Chicago with his family. David came from Des Moines. My house filled with the sound of grandchildren and laughter, and under it all, the terrible weight of what was coming. That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen with a cup of tea. Tomorrow everything would change. Tomorrow the truth would finally come out. Bobby found me there. Can't sleep, he asked quietly. No. He sat down across from me. Maggie, I know I can't stop you. I know you're going to do what you're going to do. But I just want to say, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For all of it. For the affair, for the lies, for the pain I've caused you. If I could go back and change it, I would. I looked at him. At this man I'd loved for 53 years, and I felt nothing. The love had died, all that was left was hollow emptiness. I believe you, I said. But it doesn't matter. Sorry doesn't fix this, I know. We sat there in silence for a while. What happens after tomorrow? He asked finally. I don't know, I said honestly. I guess we'll all find out together. The day of the party arrived bright and sunny. It was one of those perfect September afternoons, crisp air, clear blue sky, the kind of day that photographers dream about. The kind of day that should have been filled with joy. I woke up at 6 in the morning, my heart already racing. I'd barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the faces of everyone who would be at the party. I imagined their expressions changing as I spoke. I imagined Sarah's face. For a moment, lying there in the early morning light, I almost lost my nerve. Then I thought about that bank statement, about the folder full of lies, about 28 years of deception, and my resolve hardened again. I got up, showered, and put on the dress Claire had helped me pick out weeks ago. A beautiful navy blue dress with delicate lace sleeves. I'd been so excited about it then. Thinking about how Bobby would tell me I looked beautiful, how we'd dance together while everyone watched and smiled. Now the dress felt like a costume. One last performance before the curtain came down. The party was being held at the Riverside Community Center, a beautiful building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Cedar River. Claire had decorated it with white and gold balloons, strings of lights, and photos of Bobby and me throughout our marriage. The photos she'd spent weeks scanning and organizing. Our whole life, displayed for everyone to see, except none of it was real. By 3 o'clock, I was standing in the community center's small preparation room, looking at myself in the mirror. Claire came in behind me, already dressed in a pretty green dress. "Mom," she said softly, "you look beautiful." "Thank you, honey. Are you still going to do this?" I turned to face her. "Yes," she nodded, tears already forming in her eyes. "Okay, I'm here. Whatever you need. I need you to make sure Sarah doesn't leave early, and I need you to have Michael and David ready. This is going to get ugly, they know. We talked about it last night, after you went to bed. We're all going to support you." I hugged my daughter tightly. "I'm sorry I'm putting you through this. Don't apologize. Dad's the one who should be apologizing." At 3:30, guests started arriving. I stood at the entrance with Bobby, greeting people like we'd done 1,000 times before. Bobby's hand shook as he shook hands with our friends and family. His smile looked painted on.
"Bobby, Maggie! 45 years!
"That's incredible. You two are an inspiration. The perfect couple." Each compliment felt like a knife. I saw Linda arrive with Frank and Sarah. Linda looked terrified, her eyes darting around the room like she was looking for an escape route. Frank looked confused, probably wondering why his wife was so nervous. And Sarah looked happy, excited. She was wearing a pretty yellow sundress, her dark hair styled in waves. She had Bobby's eyes. How had I never noticed before?
Aunt Maggie."
Sarah came over and hugged me. "This is so wonderful."
45 years?
"You and Uncle Bobby are couple goals, seriously. Uncle Bobby." I hugged her back, my heart breaking for what was about to happen to her. "Thank you, sweetheart." Linda wouldn't meet my eyes. She grabbed Sarah's arm and pulled her away quickly, steering her toward the refreshment table. By 4 o'clock, all 73 guests had arrived. The community center was full of people laughing, eating, drinking, celebrating. Our children and grandchildren mingled with aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, and friends from church. Everyone who mattered to us was there, perfect. At 4:30, Claire stepped up to the microphone that had been set up near the front of the room.
"Hi, everyone!
"Thank you all so much for coming to celebrate Mom and Dad's 45th
Wedding anniversary!"
She paused while everyone applauded. "We're going to start with a slideshow that I put together, showing Mom and Dad's beautiful journey together. Then we'll have some speeches, and then dinner will be served. So if everyone could find a seat, we'll get started." People settled into the chairs arranged in rows facing the large projection screen. Bobby and I sat in the front row, side by side. I could feel him trembling next to me. The lights dimmed, the slideshow began. There we were at our wedding, so young and hopeful. Baby pictures of Claire, Michael, and David, family vacations, Christmas mornings, birthdays, anniversaries. 45 years of carefully curated memories, set to soft music. I watched the faces around me. People were smiling, some dabbing at their eyes. A few people reached over to squeeze their partner's hands. And I watched Linda, sitting 3 rows back with Sarah and Frank. She was gripping Sarah's hand so tightly her knuckles were white. Sarah looked confused, probably wondering why her mother was so tense. The slideshow ended to enthusiastic applause. Claire came back to the microphone. "Wasn't that beautiful? 45 years of love and commitment. Mom and Dad, you've shown all of us what real marriage looks like." More applause. Bobby's face was gray. "Now," Claire continued, and I heard her voice waver slightly, "Mom has a few words she'd like to say." This was it. I stood up and walked to the microphone. My legs felt steady. My mind was clear. I looked out at all those faces, friends, family, people who loved us, and felt absolutely calm. "Thank you all for coming," I began. "It means so much to Bobby and me to have you here to celebrate our 45th anniversary." People smiled and nodded. 45 years is a long time, almost half a century, and I've spent all that time believing I knew my husband, believing I knew my life, believing the story we were telling. Some people looked confused. The smiles started to fade. But 3 weeks ago, I discovered that the story was a lie, that my entire marriage has been built on deception. The room went completely silent. I could hear my own heartbeat. I found out that 28 years ago, My husband had an affair. With someone close to me. Someone in this room. Gasps. Whispers. Bobby put his head in his hands. He got her pregnant. And for the next 10 years, he paid her $2,000 a month to keep quiet about it. $240,000 to keep me from knowing the truth. The whispers grew louder. People were looking around, trying to figure out who I was talking about. The woman my husband had an affair with, I continued, my voice steady, is my aunt, Linda Patterson. All eyes turned to Linda. She'd gone completely white, frozen in her seat. And the daughter he fathered is Sarah. Sarah, honey, I'm so sorry you have to find out this way. But Bobby Reynolds is your biological father. For a moment, there was absolute silence. Then Sarah made a sound, a horrible, wounded cry, and the room exploded into chaos. What? Sarah was standing now, staring at Linda. Mom?
Mom?
What is she talking about? Linda was sobbing, reaching for Sarah, but Sarah pushed her away. Is it true? Sarah screamed. Sarah, please, let me explain. Linda begged.
ISIT Tirawi. Yes.
Linda whispered. Yes, it's true. Sarah let out another cry and stumbled backward. David jumped up and caught her before she fell. People were standing now, talking over each other, some shouting. I saw my sister across the room, her face shocked. My brother was shaking his head in disbelief. Friends from church looked horrified. Maggie, how could you? Someone shouted. I think it was one of Linda's friends. How could you do this here? In front of everyone. Because everyone deserves to know the truth, I said into the microphone. For 28 years, Bobby and Linda lied to me. They lied to all of you. They let you believe in this perfect marriage, this perfect family, while they were hiding this enormous secret. Bobby stood up, his face red. Maggie, please. Stop this. Why? I turned to him. Are you embarrassed? Are you ashamed? Good. You should be. You should have been ashamed 28 years ago, but instead you made a deal with Linda to hide it, to protect yourself at my expense. This is insane. Someone else yelled. You're destroying your family. My family was already destroyed, I said. I'm just making sure everyone knows it. Sarah was crying hysterically now, still in David's arms. Claire was crying too. Michael was standing with his arm around his wife, his face hard and angry. Linda stood up shaking. Maggie, I know you're angry, but Sarah didn't deserve this.
She didn't do anything wrong.
You're right, I said. She didn't. But she deserved to know the truth. And you were never going to tell her, were you? You were going to let her live her whole life, not knowing who her father was. I was protecting her. Linda screamed. You were protecting yourself, I shot back. Just like Bobby was protecting himself. Just like everyone has been protecting themselves except me. Frank, Linda's husband, was staring at his wife with a look of betrayal. You said it was someone from before we met. Someone who didn't matter. But it was him? It was Bobby? Frank. I can explain? You lied to me too, Frank said quietly. All these years, the room was in complete chaos now. Some people were leaving, grabbing their coats and rushing out. Others were clustering in groups, talking frantically. Sarah had run out of the room, with David chasing after her. Linda was sobbing uncontrollably, and Bobby was looking at me with something like hatred in his eyes. Are you happy now? He asked. Is this what you wanted? To humiliate me in front of everyone? I wanted the truth, I said simply. That's all I ever wanted. You could have handled this privately. Like you handled your affair privately. Like you handled paying off my aunt privately. No, Bobby. You had your chance to do this right. You had 28 years. Now everyone knows what kind of man you really are. My pastor, Reverend Matthews, stepped forward. He looked shaken. Maggie, Bobby, perhaps we should all take a moment to calm down. This is clearly very emotional. There's nothing to calm down about, Reverend, I said. The truth is out now. Finally. After 28 years of lies, everyone knows. I set the microphone down and walked out of the community center. Behind me, I could hear the chaos continuing, people arguing, crying, shouting. The anniversary party that was supposed to celebrate 45 years of marriage had turned into the site of its destruction. I walked to my car, got in, and drove away. I didn't go home. I couldn't face Bobby, not yet. Instead, I drove to the park by the river, the same park where Bobby had proposed to me 50 years ago. I sat on a bench and watched the water flow by. My phone started ringing almost immediately. Claire, Michael, my sister, friends. I turned it off. I sat there for 2 hours watching the sun set over the river, and I felt lighter. Like a weight I'd been carrying for weeks had finally been lifted. Yes, people were hurt. Yes, the family was in chaos. Yes, I'd probably lost friends and damaged relationships that might never be repaired. But the truth was out. The lies were over. And for the first time in 28 years, everything was real. When I finally drove home, it was dark. Bobby's car was in the driveway. I steeled myself and went inside. He was sitting in the living room in the dark. When I turned on the light, I saw his face was red and swollen from crying. "I hope you're satisfied," he said, his voice hoarse. "You got what you wanted. You destroyed everything." "I destroyed nothing," I said calmly. "You did that 28 years ago. I just made sure everyone knew about it. Sarah is devastated. Linda is hysterical. The whole family is in chaos. Church members were calling me, saying they're ashamed to know us." "Was it worth it, Maggie? Was your revenge worth destroying so many lives?" "It wasn't revenge," I said. "It was truth. And yes, it was worth it." He stared at me like I was a stranger. "I don't even know who you are anymore." "Good," I said. "Because I spent 45 years being who you wanted me to be. Now I'm going to figure out who I actually am." I walked past him and went upstairs. I locked the bedroom door, lay down on the bed, and for the first time in 3 weeks, I slept soundly. I woke up the next morning to the sound of my phone buzzing continuously. I'd turned it back on before going to sleep, and now it was flooded with messages and missed calls. 47 text messages, 23 voicemails, 12 missed calls. I sat up in bed and started reading through them. From Claire: "Mom, are you okay? Please call me. Sarah is at our house. She's a mess." From Michael: "That was intense, Mom. I support you, but we need to talk about what happens now." From David: "I'm with Sarah. She won't stop crying. She says her whole life was a lie." From my sister, Helen: "Maggie, I can't believe what you did. That was cruel. There were better ways to handle this." From various church members, some supportive, some horrified, some telling me I'd embarrassed them all. From Linda's number: "How could you do that to Sarah? She's innocent in all this. You're a monster." That last one made me pause. A monster. Is that what I was? I got up, showered, and went downstairs. Bobby wasn't there. His car was gone from the driveway. I had no idea where he'd gone, and I realized I didn't care. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, steeling myself to face what I'd done. My phone rang. It was Claire. "Mom, thank God, I've been so worried." "I'm fine, honey. How's Sarah?" She's not good, Mom. She cried all night. She keeps saying she doesn't know who she is anymore. That everything she believed about herself was a lie." Guilt twisted in my stomach. "Can I talk to her?" "I don't think that's a good idea right now. She's pretty angry at you. At everyone, really. But especially you and Dad and Aunt Linda." "I understand. Mom, I need you to know something." Claire's voice was gentle but firm. "I support you. I understand why you did what you did, but it was brutal. Sarah didn't deserve to find out that way. I know." My voice cracked. "I know she didn't. But Linda was never going to tell her. Bobby was never going to tell her. Someone had to. But did it have to be in front of 73 people? I didn't have a good answer for that. I don't know, Claire. Maybe not. But I was so angry. I am so angry. And I wanted Bobby and Linda to face the consequences of what they did. They are facing consequences. Dad's a wreck. Aunt Linda has been calling here hysterically, begging to talk to Sarah. But Sarah won't answer. Frank apparently left her last night, just packed a bag and walked out. The whole family is divided. Some people think you were right to expose them. Others think you went too far. What do you think?" Claire was quiet for a moment. I think you were right that the truth needed to come out. But I also think the way you did it caused more pain than necessary. Sarah's going to carry this trauma forever, Mom. The way she found out, that's going to haunt her." Tears were streaming down my face now. "I didn't want to hurt Sarah. I never wanted to hurt her. I know. But you did. We all did. You, Dad, Aunt Linda. We all failed her in different ways." After I hung up with Claire, I sat at the table and cried. Really cried for the first time since the party. Because she was right. Sarah was innocent. And I'd hurt her in ways I couldn't take back. But what else could I have done? If I'd told her privately, Bobby and Linda would have controlled the narrative. They would have made excuses, minimized their actions, convinced Sarah to keep the secret to protect the family. The truth had to come out all at once to everyone, so there could be no more lies. But God, the cost was high. Around noon, Michael called. "Mom, I'm at the house." "Where are you?" "I'm at home. Your father left this morning. I don't know where he went." "He's at David's apartment. He showed up at 6 this morning looking like death. David says he's been crying nonstop." Part of me felt satisfaction at that. Good. He should cry. He should feel the pain he'd caused. But another part of me, a smaller, quieter part, felt sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that the man I'd loved for 53 years was now someone I could barely stand to look at. Mom, can I come over? I think we need to talk about next steps. Next steps? You and the marriage? What happens now? I'm divorcing him, I said flatly. That's what happens now. Okay. But there are practical things to figure out. The house, finances, legal stuff. I can help you with that. It's what I do for a living. Come over, I said. We'll talk. Michael arrived an hour later with his wife Jennifer. They both hugged me when they came in. How are you holding up? Jennifer asked. I don't know, I said honestly. I feel like I did the right thing, but also like I did something terrible. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, she said gently. That's what happens when there are no good options, only terrible ones and slightly less terrible ones. We sat at the kitchen table, and Michael pulled out a legal pad. Okay, Mom? First thing, have you talked to a lawyer yet? No. You need to. Like, tomorrow. I can recommend someone. You've been married 45 years, so this is going to be complicated. Assets, retirement accounts, the house, it all needs to be divided. I don't care about the money. He can have it all. Mom, don't say that. You deserve half of everything. You work too. You contributed to this marriage. Don't let guilt or anger make you give up what's rightfully yours. He's right, Jennifer added. You need to protect yourself financially. I nodded slowly. Okay, I'll call a lawyer. Good. Second thing, where are you going to live? Are you staying in this house? I don't know. I can't imagine living here with Bobby anymore. But I can't imagine leaving either. This has been my home for 35 years. You don't have to decide right now, but start thinking about it. We talked for another hour about practical matters. Bank accounts, credit cards, insurance, all the mundane details of dismantling a 45-year marriage. When they left, I felt exhausted, emotionally wrung out. That evening, Bobby came home. I heard his car in the driveway. Heard him come through the door. He found me in the living room, reading a book, or pretending to read. The words weren't registering. Maggie, he said quietly, we need to talk? About what? About what happens now? About us? There is no us anymore, Bobby. Surely you understand that. He sat down in his recliner, the one he'd sat in for decades. I know you want a divorce. I know I've lost you. But Maggie, can we at least try to do this with some dignity? Some privacy. I looked at him coldly. No, you want privacy. Now you care about dignity. What I did was wrong, I know that. I've always known that. But what you did yesterday, Maggie, that was cruel. Sarah didn't deserve that. Neither did the rest of the family. Don't you dare lecture me about cruelty. You lied to me for 28 years. You betrayed me with my own aunt. You fathered a child and paid to keep it secret. You looked me in the eye every single day and lied. I know. And Sarah? You want to talk about what Sarah deserved. She deserved to know her real father. She deserved to grow up without that lie hanging over her. But you were too much of a coward to tell the truth. I was trying to protect everyone. You were protecting yourself. I stood up, my voice rising. Stop pretending this was noble or selfless. You were scared of losing your comfortable life, your reputation, your perfect image. That's all you cared about. Bobby put his head in his hands. Maybe you're right. Maybe I was a coward. But Maggie, we can't undo what's been done. We can only move forward. And the question is, how do we do that? We get divorced, we sell the house. We divide everything and go our separate ways. That's how. After 45 years, that's it? We just walk away from each other. You walked away from me 28 years ago when you climbed into bed with Linda. I'm just making it official. He looked up at me, and I saw genuine anguish in his eyes. I still love you, Maggie. I know I don't deserve you. I know I destroyed everything. But I do love you. Love isn't enough, Bobby. Love without trust, without honesty, without respect, that's not love at all. That's just empty words. He didn't argue. What could he say? Over the next few days, I started to understand the true extent of the fallout from the party. My sister Helen wasn't speaking to me. She thought what I'd done was unforgivable, humiliating the family in public like that. My brother Tom was on my side, but said his wife agreed with Helen. The church was divided. Some members reached out with support, saying I'd done the brave thing by telling the truth. Others whispered about me in the parking lot after service, their disapproval clear. Sarah still refused to speak to me, or to Bobby, or to Linda. According to Claire, she was staying at David's apartment, taking time off work, seeing a therapist. Linda had called me 17 times. I hadn't answered once. Frank had filed for divorce. According to the gossip chain, he'd said he couldn't trust Linda anymore, couldn't believe anything she'd ever told him. And Bobby was like a ghost in the house. We barely spoke. He slept in the guest room. We moved around each other like strangers. A week after the party, David called me. "Mom, Sarah wants to meet with you." My heart jumped. "She does?" "Yeah. She's not ready to talk to Dad or Aunt Linda yet, but she says she needs to talk to you. She has questions." "Okay. When, where?" "Tomorrow, at the coffee shop on Main Street. 2 o'clock. I'll be there." I barely slept that night, rehearsing what I'd say to Sarah. How I'd apologize for the way she found out. How I'd explain my actions without making excuses. The next afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. I ordered a tea I didn't drink and sat at a corner table, my hands shaking. At exactly 2 o'clock, Sarah walked in. She looked terrible. Her eyes were red and swollen, her face pale. She'd lost weight. She was wearing sweatpants and a hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She saw me and walked over slowly. She didn't hug me, she just sat down across from Hi, she said quietly. "Hi, sweetheart. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." She didn't smile. "I'm not here to make you feel better. I'm here because I need answers. I need to understand what happened." "Okay. I'll tell you anything you want to know." She took a deep breath. "Did you know, before you found that bank statement, did you have any idea that Bobby was my father?" "No. I swear to you, Sarah, I had no idea. I was completely blindsided." "The money? The payments to my mom? I didn't know about those either. Bobby had a secret bank account. He was hiding it from me." Sarah's jaw tightened. "So my whole life, while you were being my aunt, while we were having family dinners and holidays together, you didn't know he was my father?" "I didn't know. If I had known, I would have. I don't know what I would have done, but I wouldn't have let the lie continue." "But you did let it continue," Sarah said, and her voice was sharp. "Once you found out, you could have told me privately. You could have sat me down, just you and me, and explained it gently. But instead you chose to humiliate me in front of 73 people." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. You're right. You deserved better than that. Then why did you do it?" Her voice cracked. "Why did you choose the most public, most humiliating way possible to reveal the truth? Was it revenge? Were you trying to hurt Uncle Bobby? I mean my father. I don't even know what to call him anymore." She was crying now, and so was I. "I was angry," I said. "I was so angry, Sarah. At Bobby. And at Linda, at the lies, and I wanted them to face consequences. I wanted everyone to know what they'd done. But you're right, you got caught in the crossfire, and that wasn't fair." "No, it wasn't fair," she said, wiping her eyes angrily. "Nothing about this is fair. I'm 28 years old, and I just found out my entire identity is a lie. The man I thought was my uncle is actually my father. My mother has been lying to me my whole life, and the woman I trusted as my aunt, you chose to destroy my world in the most public way possible." I know, and I'm so sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix this." She slammed her hand on the table, making our cups rattle. "Sorry doesn't give me back the truth. Sorry doesn't make me trust anyone ever again." We sat there in that coffee shop, both of us crying, and I realized that David was right. The way Sarah had found out was going to traumatize her forever. "What can I do?" I asked desperately. "How can I help? How can I make this even a little bit better?" Sarah shook her head. "I don't know if you can. I don't know if anyone can. My whole life feels like a lie now, Aunt Maggie. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I belong. I don't know who to trust." "You can trust your brothers and sister," I said. "Claire, Michael, and David, they're your siblings. They love you. They want to be there for you." "Half siblings," she corrected bitterly. "And yeah, that's another thing I'm trying to process. My cousins are actually my siblings. This is so messed up." We talked for another hour. Sarah asked questions about Bobby, about our marriage, about when the affair had happened. I answered as honestly as I could. Finally, she stood up to leave. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she said quietly. "Not right now, maybe not ever. But I needed to see you. I needed to tell you how much you hurt me." "I understand. And Sarah, for what it's worth, I do love you. I always have. That part was never a lie." She looked at me for a long moment. "I loved you too. But I don't know if that's enough anymore." Then she walked out, leaving me sitting alone with my cold tea and my regrets. 3 months had passed since the anniversary party that changed everything. 3 months since I'd stood up in front of 73 people and detonated a bomb that destroyed the life I'd known. It was December now, and I was sitting in my new apartment. A small but comfortable two-bedroom place on the east side of town. After weeks of tension and awkward silences, Bobby and I had agreed that I would move out while we sorted through the divorce proceedings. The apartment was quiet, peaceful, mine. I'd taken very little from the house, just my clothes, some books, a few pieces of furniture that had belonged to my mother. I didn't want the things that reminded me of my life with Bobby. I wanted a fresh start. The divorce was moving forward. Michael had connected me with an excellent lawyer, and we were working through the division of assets. Bobby hadn't fought me on anything. He'd agreed to split everything down the middle, even offering me more than my share. Guilt, I suppose, or maybe just exhaustion. We'd put the house on the market. Neither of us could bear to live there anymore. It was too full of ghosts and lies. My phone rang. It was Claire. "Hi, Mom. How are you doing?" "I'm okay, honey. How are the kids?" "They're good. Listen, I wanted to give you a heads up. Sarah called me last night." My heart jumped. I hadn't spoken to Sarah since that awful meeting at the coffee shop 3 months ago. "How is she?" "She's better. Still hurt, still angry, but she's working through it with her therapist." "She asked about you." "She did?" "Yeah, she wanted to know how you were doing. If you were okay." I felt tears prick my eyes. "What did you tell her?" "I told her you were building a new life. That you were stronger than I'd ever seen you. That you were finally being yourself instead of just being Dad's wife." "Thank you, honey." Mom, she also said. She said she thinks she might be ready to talk to Dad soon. Not to forgive him necessarily, but to have a conversation, to ask questions about his side of the family, medical history, that kind of thing. That's good. That's really good. She's not ready to talk to Aunt Linda yet, though. She's still too angry at her. I wasn't surprised. Linda had been the one person Sarah had trusted completely, and that betrayal cut the deepest. "How's your father?" I asked. I tried not to care, but some part of me, the part that had loved him for 53 years, still wondered. "He's struggling. He's lost weight. He looks 10 years older. He goes to church, but he sits in the back now, and he leaves right after the service. I think he's ashamed to face people." "Good," I said, and I meant it. "He should be ashamed. Mom, I know he hurt you. I know what he did was unforgivable. But he's still my father, and it's hard to watch him fall apart. I understand, honey. And I'm not asking you to choose sides. You can love us both, even if we can't be together anymore." After we hung up, I sat in my quiet apartment and thought about Bobby. About the man I'd married at 19, so full of promises and dreams. About the life we'd built together, brick by brick, year by year. Had any of it been real? Or had it all been a lie? I thought about it for a long time, and I realized it had been both. The love had been real, at least in the beginning. The joy of having children together had been real. The good times, the laughter, the quiet moments, those had been real. But the foundation had been cracked. And 28 years ago, that crack had become a chasm. Bobby had made a choice that couldn't be unmade. And then he'd made the worst choice to cover it up with lies. And now we were all paying the price. A week before Christmas, I got an unexpected visitor. There was a knock on my apartment door. When I opened it, Linda was standing there. She looked terrible, thin, haggard, years older than she had just 3 months ago. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face drawn. "Maggie," she said, her voice hoarse. "Please, can we talk?" Part of me wanted to slam the door in her face. But another part, maybe the part that remembered the years before the betrayal, when Linda had been like a sister to me, felt pity. "Come in," I said quietly. She walked into my small living room and stood awkwardly looking around. "Ness place. It's small, but it's mine. Frank divorced me," she said abruptly. "It was finalized last week. I heard. Sarah won't speak to me. She won't answer my calls or texts. I sent her a letter, and she sent it back unopened." Her voice broke. "I've lost my daughter, Maggie. I've lost everything. You lost those things the day you decided to sleep with my husband and then blackmail him," I said coldly. I know. She sank onto my couch, crying. "I've made so many mistakes, so many terrible, selfish mistakes, and now I'm paying for them." I sat down across from her, watching her cry. I felt nothing, no satisfaction in her pain. No sympathy either, just a hollow emptiness. "Why did you do it?" I asked. "Why did you sleep with Bobby? And why did you blackmail him? I need to understand." Linda wiped her eyes. "I was jealous of you. I know that sounds pathetic, but it's true. You had everything. The perfect husband, the perfect kids, the perfect life. And I had nothing. I was alone, broke, struggling. And Bobby was there, and he was kind to me, and one night we both drank too much, and it just happened. And the blackmail. I didn't think of it as blackmail," she said weakly. "I thought of it as child support. Bobby was Sarah's father. He should have helped support her. Child support is filed through the courts, Linda. What you did was extortion. She nodded miserably. I know. I was scared and desperate and I made a terrible choice. And then I kept making terrible choices over and over again because I was afraid of what would happen if the truth came out. And now the truth is out. And you've lost everything. Wes. She looked at me with desperate eyes. Maggie, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did to you is unforgivable. But please, is there any way you could talk to Sarah? Tell her I love her. Tell her I'm sorry. I stared at her. You want me to help you? After everything you've done? I know it's too much to ask. It is too much to ask. Sarah needs to heal on her own terms. In her own time. And she needs to do it without pressure from you or me or anyone else. If and when she's ready to talk to you, she will. But I'm not going to push her. Linda's face crumpled. I understand. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix this. You can't fix it, I said simply. The damage is done. All you can do is live with the consequences of your choices. She stood up to leave, and at the door she turned back. For what it's worth, Maggie, I am sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. You didn't deserve any of this. No, I agreed. I didn't. After she left, I sat in my quiet apartment and realized something important. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need Bobby's apology. I didn't need anyone's validation or explanation or regret. I just needed to move forward. Christmas came and went quietly. I spent it with Claire and her family, and with Michael and his family who'd driven down from Chicago. David was there too, and surprisingly, he'd brought Sarah. She looked better than the last time I'd seen her. Still sad, still healing, but stronger somehow. We didn't talk much at first. We moved around each other carefully, like two people learning how to be in the same room again. But after dinner, while everyone else was in the living room watching the kids open presents, Sarah found me in the kitchen washing dishes. Need help? She asked quietly. Sure. We worked in silence for a few minutes, her drying while I washed. I talked to him, she said finally. To Bobby? To my father? I stopped washing and looked at her. How did it go? It was weird. Really weird. He cried a lot. Apologized a lot. Told me about his family history, medical stuff I should know. Showed me pictures of his parents, my grandparents, I guess. And how do you feel about it? She shrugged. I don't know yet. It's going to take time, maybe a lot of time. But I guess it's a start. I'm glad you talked to him. Everyone deserves to know where they come from. Even if the truth is ugly. Especially if the truth is ugly. Because at least it's real. Sarah was quiet for a moment, then she said, Aunt Maggie? I guess you're not really my aunt anymore, are you? I don't know what to call you. You can call me whatever feels right to you. I'll always care about you, Sarah. That hasn't changed. She nodded slowly. I'm still angry at you. For the way you told everyone. That's going to take a long time to get over. If I ever do. I understand. But I also understand why you did it. I've been thinking about it a lot in therapy. You were betrayed by the two people who should have been most loyal to you, and you wanted them to face the consequences. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Thank you for trying to understand. I talked to my mom too, she said quietly. Linda, just once on the phone. She's a mess, Aunt Maggie. Whatever I'm supposed to call you. She's completely falling apart. I know. She came to see me a couple weeks ago. What did you say to her? I told her she had to live with the consequences of her choices. Just like we all do. Sarah nodded. That's fair, I guess. I'm not ready to forgive her. I don't know if I ever will be. But I told her I'd think about maybe talking to her again someday. Maybe? That's very mature of you. I don't feel mature. I feel like a kid who just found out Santa Claus isn't real, except a million times worse. She gave a bitter laugh. My therapist says it's going to take years to process all this? Years? Probably. Betrayal like this, it leaves scars. Are you okay? Sarah asked suddenly. Like, really okay? You lost your marriage, your home, half your family is mad at you. How are you handling it? I thought about that question. Really thought about it. I'm better than I've been in years, I said honestly. Maybe better than I've been in decades. Because for the first time since I was 19 years old, I'm not living a lie. Everything in my life now is real. It might not be perfect, but it's real. And that matters more than I ever understood before. Sarah looked at me for a long moment. I hope I can get to that place someday, where the truth feels better than the lie. You will? I promised. It just takes time. On New Year's Eve, I stood on my small balcony and watched fireworks explode over the city. In a few minutes it would be a new year. A fresh start. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Claire. Happy New Year, Mom. I'm proud of you. Love you so much. Then one from Michael. 2026 going to be your year, Mom. Fresh start, fresh perspective. Here's to truth and new beginnings. And finally, one from David. You're the strongest person I know, Mom. Happy New Year. Can't wait to see what comes next for you. I smiled through my tears and typed back responses to each of them. As the clock struck midnight and the fireworks reached their crescendo, I thought about everything that had happened. The discovery, the betrayal, the confrontation, the fallout. Had I done the right thing, exposing Bobby and Linda the way I had? Would it have been better to handle it quietly, privately, the way everyone had wanted? I still didn't know. Maybe I'd never know. But I knew this: I had spent 45 years living a lie. 45 years being who everyone else needed me to be. 45 years swallowing the truth to keep the peace. And when I finally discovered the biggest lie of all, I'd made a choice. A hard choice. A choice that hurt people, including people I loved. But it was my choice. Made with my eyes open. Made on my own terms. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't Bobby's wife. I wasn't just someone's mother or aunt or sister. I was just Maggie. Margaret Reynolds. A woman who had survived betrayal and come out the other side. The divorce would be final in a few months. The house would sell. Bobby and I would go our separate ways, dividing a lifetime between us like we were dividing furniture and bank accounts. Sarah would continue healing, learning who she was beyond the lies she'd been told. Linda would face the consequences of her choices alone with her regrets. Bobby would live with the knowledge that his moment of weakness had cost him everything. And me. I would build a new life. A real life. A life based on truth, even when that truth was painful. I looked out over the city, watching the last of the fireworks fade into the night sky, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace, not happiness, not yet, maybe not for a long time, but peace. The truth had set me free. It had hurt me, hurt everyone around me, fractured my family and destroyed my marriage. But it had also set me free, and standing there on my balcony, alone but not lonely, scared but not defeated, I realized something important. I would rather live with painful truths than comfortable lies. I would rather face the consequences of honesty than hide behind a lifetime of deception. I would rather be alone and authentic than partnered and false. My high school sweetheart had been living a lie. He'd fathered a child with my own aunt and paid her to keep silent for 10 years. And when I found out, I'd made a choice that changed everything. I still didn't know if it was the right choice. But it was my choice. And for the first time in 45 years, that was enough. I went back inside my small apartment, poured myself a glass of wine and sat down with a book. Outside, the city celebrated the new year. But inside, I was already celebrating something more important. My new beginning, my authentic life, my truth. However painful it had been to get here, I was finally free. And that was worth everything,